So, a fair warning, the engagement with politics will be perhaps not as deep as some people want, and probably way more than other people want. And I realize the more political stuff seems to get generally less views, but I think it's a necessity here. I'm not going to go too far in, but I'm just trying to do some fact correcting. But I will be fair because Reese is not very clear here, so I don't know if she's being ambiguous, quote, as a grifter, or she's honestly perplexed and that's why she's being ambiguous. So let's get to it. What is the dilemma? Well, Reese in a couple of these videos has said over and over again that she's not very political and she is extremely naive. She just doesn't know what's happening. She's just like, yeah, kind of remember these presidents, kind of remember the elections, but I really don't really have a thing here, guys. I'm just not that kind of person, not into the politics. And if you listen closely, you would think like, wow, she just has no political opinion at all. And that is totally possible. But there's a lot here that would make you think, hmm, no, that doesn't add up. That can't be right. Also, on top of that, are the recent elections. And given what the candidates were and what they stood for, and that Reese has, no nice way of putting it, she's lost about 1,000 people. I think she did have over slightly 21,000 subscribers, and she did tell a lot of people to go, that they wouldn't be missed. But apparently, these hundreds and hundreds of people, presumably giving her donations, she is missing them. So the low end would be what? She lost 700, the high end, 900 to 1,000 people. So she is clearly worried that she's losing popularity. So maybe she just isn't talking about politics because doesn't want to offend any Trump supporters, doesn't want to offend any Kamala people, etc., etc., etc. So what does the data show? Well, I'm mainly going off this one article, although I have been around people who have studied this a lot. So the usual consensus is that there's a, quote, gender gap that the Republicans suffer from, namely that all else equal, women will tend to favor the Democrats over Republicans. It's been studied for decades. Not clear why. I think the biggest explanation has been that women are more, whatever you want to call it, collective, right? They think about themselves and their families. And they think the Democrats are more in line with their policies and values. And Republicans stress more individualism, right? Just the individual. And if the individual gain or benefit from these policies, et cetera, et cetera. And certainly on some issues, as this article points out, there is a pretty vast majority. For instance, most women do favor abortion being legal, and that cuts across a lot of lines. However, that didn't really matter this election. And in fact, there seemed to be contradictory data. So a lot of women, as the Trump people are reporting, did go for him. In fact, he gained a lot of women's support, right? And Kamala lost a lot of support by quite a few points. So Biden was able to get much more women excited and voting for him last time. So whether Kamala just failed to motivate women, or they just didn't like her, or they didn't care about certain politics or policies, it's unclear, but there just weren't enough women voting for the Democrats and or Harris this time. No, I think the case against Donalis with the women is probably well known, right? That personally he's had, to put it mildly, conflicted relationships with women, and he's taken a lot of these very sharp stances, including on abortion. But that did not hurt him. So how to read this? Well, at the state level, abortion is, quote, still popular to be kept legal with women, and they voted for those measures, and those measures won. In one case, I think in Florida, it almost passed, but it still had a lot of support. So it could be women are separating the candidates from the issues. They may vote for Trump, but they don't like all of his policies. And that seems to be where we are. Now we're getting back to Reese. Now, why is Trump so important? Well, Jeff, the ex that Reese constantly, and I do mean constantly, pokes fun at and is demonizing for her, again, I would assume, mainly female audience, is, you guessed it, a Trump person. And he's not hiding it. He is very explicitly political. And some people, well, there you go. Reese is going to call them haters. So some people went back to the archives and found a few videos where Reese kind of contradicts herself. And she does let people know that she and Jeff watched a lot of news, and Jeff would be very political. It's very clear that Jeff is a Republican and very pro-Trump. So how could Reese not know anything? It could be she's not sharing her political opinion, but no, she's saying she doesn't have any political opinions, which is hard to believe. Either she was literally just zoning out or filtering out any information that she was getting from Jeff when they were watching news. He just didn't care. It's like, okay, fine, you watch what you watch. I'm not really going to pay attention. That is possible. But no, in these videos, she does seem to have some awareness of who Barack Obama is, of who McCain is. Because again, from her recent statements, you would think she just doesn't know anything. She doesn't know who the presidential candidates are. She doesn't even know that there are different parties. But it's like, no, she knows enough, right? Because she keeps directing her women to hate Jeff, and Jeff does not hide that he is a very pro-Republican, pro-Trump guy. So it's like, told to vote Republican. The reasoning is kind of weird. Apparently, Scientologists are told that Republicans will support them on the tax exemption issue. Why they think this, I don't know. It could be Miscavige doesn't understand politics. I mean, the Scientologists are very careful. They're not really pro one way or the other. They sort of are ambiguous. I mean, this is a very powerful lobbying group, but I am not joking. I've read quite a few books on politics and lobbying in Congress. They never come up. They don't come up almost at all, which is pretty insane given how huge their resources are. This is like a $4 billion corporation. So it could just be they're very clever with front groups and they never explicitly show who they are. But either way, they do have some power, and apparently they do lean towards Republicans. So Reese is aware of the basics. She knows there are Democrats and Republicans, and she knows that Kamala's a woman, obviously, and she knows that there are women's issues. She just doesn't want to talk about them. But why not? Well, we keep having this missing, whatever it is, 700 to 800 people. If she says anything, she's going to lose a few Kamala people or maybe some Trump people. Well, the data here shows that women do separate the two, right? So she just could talk about issues that are popular with women, like abortion, and just stick to a quote, a safe topic. But she doesn't really do that either. So it's sort of like, is she just that scared of losing any more people because she just wants to keep as much money as now? I don't know. Or it could just be she is trying to rebrand herself, right? Because for a while she was keeping her distance from Aaron, right? And Aaron Smith-Levin, to put it mildly, has his own women issues. And again, that may have played a part that she just was like a little concerned that his scandals would rub off on her. Didn't want to have anything to do with that. But then again, she's been a girlfriend with Scoville for months and months, even though he clearly was a very controversial figure. So, yeah, it's no clear answer as to what is happening, but for now, she is playing ignorant, just saying, guys, it's just not very political. It's not a political channel. But in the past, she did let people know that, yeah, she does have some political opinions. So why is she playing dumb now? I don't know. And again, the terrible stereotype the haters are trying to show is that Reese is dumb, right? That's what she goes back to. Say, everyone thinks I'm dumb. No, I don't think anyone thinks Reese is dumb. I think the question would be, who exactly is she and what exactly is she doing? Because she keeps stressing how isolated she was in Scientology. You would think that she was locked in this tiny little box in David Miscavige's office, and that's not true. She's been out there. She's had a life. She's had now several husbands. She's had several jobs, and she's had hucks. So she hasn't been isolated to that extreme. Obviously, growing up with Scientology, it is going to be a bit of a cocoon, but she had Jeff, and again, I would presume that Jeff was in agreement with some parts of Scientology, presumably the parts that, right, went to his own politics, but I don't know. She's making it seem like she had no outside influences until very recently. And she actually had an incredible confession, which I'm not even going to get to that one. That was like mind blowing. So it seems like she's play acting that she's been play acting that she's much more isolated than she really is. So whatever the case, it's not exactly what it appears to be. So is she just being ambiguous not to lose any more people, or she is genuinely now much more ambiguous? She used to be much more political, but doesn't care anymore. I don't know, but there is a sort of a conflict between early Reese, who was much more political, and the later Reese, which we see now, who is just saying, guys, I just don't know. Who? Kamala? Trump? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Jeff talked about it a little bit, but I didn't really listen. And that's her story for today. But with Reese, the story is changing. So, yeah, maybe a different Reese will emerge in the next video.